Hello and welcome to Unpacked. I'm Jack. Today we have the Logitech Shell of Power. Okay, I lied. It's not actually called the Shell of Power. It's actually the Powershell. What it is a controller with a lightning connector made for iOS devices running iOS 7, like the iPhone 5, iPhone 5S, and the iPod Touch 5th generation. So right off the bat, it comes in a black and blue box. It's got a little screenshot of Terraria on the front there. It is a 1500 milliamp hour battery. And opening that up, we see the little G logo there, and the Powershell itself comes out of the package just like that after you cut it open. But of course, this wouldn't be complete without taking a look at the accessories. So let's take a look at them right now. We find another box. This one houses all the accessories and documentation. Documentation wise, we have a setup guide and the safety, compliance, and warranty pamphlet, as well as a USB micro cable, USB-A to micro B, for charging the Powershell. It's about a foot long. Comes in a nice blue, as does everything else in this package apparently. All right, next up we have a right-angled headphone adapter. So this allows you to plug in the headphones like so without having to try and snake the wire through the really deep opening there. All right, and finally, in the accessories box, we have a silicone bumper plate thingamabob. This is actually a liner for when you want to put in a iPod Touch, and since iPod Touches are a lot thinner than the iPhone 5 and 5S, you have to put in the liner so it doesn't get jostled around. All right, so that's enough for the accessories. Let's take a look at the Powershell a little bit closer. So the Powershell, it is nice and black. It's got like a matte finish on the front here. On the back, it's slightly textured for where you're going to be holding it. On the top, we have two triggers. All right, they're kind of translucent, and they also have the same nice texture that you see on the back of the Powershell. On the middle of the back of the Powershell, we have a G logo, and I believe if you turn it on, it turns red, meaning I guess it needs to be charged. But if you do have it charged, it turns blue. We'll get a shot of that in B-roll. Moving along, we have a cutout for the camera hole, also a cutout for the volume rockers and the vibrate switch. We also have a nice little D-pad here and a little slider button for the standby switch, so you have access to that button as well as a slightly flexible lightning connector there, and two ports for the microphone and speaker ports. There's a little bit of a fine mesh in there, so you're not actually getting dust up in your phone. We also have a pause button, finally A, B, X, Y buttons for all your good gaming needs. And on the other side, we have the power switch to turn on the battery. Like I mentioned, it is a 1500 milliamp hour battery, along with a lanyard dangly hole and the micro USB port for all your charging needs. Now the hard part, trying to find a iPhone 5 or 5S in this entire building full of Android users. We'll be right back. All right, so I went around the office trying to look for someone with a iPhone 5S. Went through 20 different people before I found the guy who actually runs the eBay auctions. He actually has an iPhone 5. Now, just installation demonstration. You take the iPhone 5, have it slightly angled, all right? You just slide it onto the lightning connector and pop it right down. It's actually quite secure. You can, wave it around and not have the phone pop out. To pop out the phone, just push out on the camera hole cutout very carefully, not to damage the lightning connector, and pull it away. Same goes for the 5S, obviously, since they're pretty much the same form factor. And same goes with the iPod Touch, just as long as you have the little silicone liner there. So it is quite comfortable after you install the iPhone 5. It adds a bit more rigidity to the Powershell, as well as it's a bit more ergonomic, I feel. Like when I was holding the iPhone 5 just by itself naked, it felt kind of slim, a bit too slim for my needs. But with the Powershell added on, you might look like a doofus trying to make a phone call with this, but it's actually quite comfortable in your hand. Speaking of ergonomics, the button layouts are quite ergonomically placed. The buttons actually are not mushy at all. At first I thought they would be mushy, but picking this up and playing around with it, the triggers are nice and solid as well. The D-pad has a nice full range of motion, and the standby switch is easy to press. Right, and then we have some games installed. Let's try High Noon Balloon. All right, now High Noon Balloon, you can still use the touchscreen, and then you just start firing away. I died. That was embarrassing. Anyways, and now let's try a different game. Let's try Asterix Mega Slap. Now with Asterix Mega Slap, you basically play with the trigger buttons, and then as soon as you power up enough, you hit A, and you pretty much Mega Slap the guy out into the atmosphere. But one thing you'll notice with this app or game, you actually can't use the touchscreen. So everything is actually by touch or by the D-pad. Then you press A, and you can get all the functions there. So you can either go back or you can play. Let's play. Okay, the objectives there. And then you just press the trigger buttons. And that's it. Trigger buttons, and then you go to press A, and then, yeah, the guy goes flying. So in the end, the Powershell is actually, I think, a great add-on for the iPhone 5 or 5S or iPod Touch, what have you. Not only does it add a bit more bulk to the phone, it also adds an extra 1500 milliamp hours of battery life to the phone. So that's almost doubling your iPhone 5S battery life. And it actually does double the iPhone 5 and the iPod Touch 5th gen. Also, if you put it in your back pocket, it's actually a bit more easy to reach. You don't have to dig around to find where your phone's at. And also, they have a huge library of games. You can check Logitech's website, or you can actually go to the App Store, download the Game Controller app, and it gives you a list of all the games that are actually available for the Powershell. It also lists all the prices on the right-hand side, whether it's free or whether it's pay to play. And as I'm scrolling through here, you can see that there are a lot of games. And as soon as you click on one of them, hit the App Store button, it'll take you directly to the App Store, so there's no actually searching or typing needed in the App Store to try and find the game that you want to play and download onto the Powershell. So that's pretty much wraps it up. The Powershell is going for $99.99 right now. And for the functionality of having an extra controller, added ergonomics, and extra battery life, this is actually a purchase worth looking at. Thank you for checking out the video, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you later.